for the sin offering. Same thing, take the rest of the carcass out of the camp and burn it as he had burned the first bull. So once again, this is a big sin because the whole community did it, and the whole carcass has to be taken out to the ash pile and burnt there. When a leader sins unintentionally, so we're dropping down a couple notches, he's to offer a male goat. Yeah, but once again, it's a male goat without defect.
A little easier to pull.
Well,
Right.
it's cheaper too,
Yeah.
because we don't have a bull, we've got just a male goat. Same thing though, transfer the sins to the substitutionary sacrifice, take some of the blood, put it on the horns of the altar of the burnt offering, and the rest of the blood at the base of the altar.
See, so none of this actually goes into the tabernacle.
Right.
This all stays outside.
Right. And notice that there's no sprinkling 7 times. It's not that big of a sin. You don't have to take it in there, for one, because the guy can't do it, the leader can't do it. And we get the idea that it's just not that bad. It's bad for the leader, but not as bad as if it was a priest or the entire community. But only the fat, only the choicest parts are sacrificed to God. Verse 27, if any member of the community, so this is just any Joe Schmo, they can bring a female goat without defect. So, little bit easier on them.
Quick backtrack to the end of chapter, verse 26.
Uh-huh.
Will be forgiven. That seems like that ends all of the offerings. All the sins are forgiven, but that's temporary until the next time.
Right.
Till the next time.
Till 5 minutes from now.
Right. Yeah. Because we know we're always going to sin. We can't help it.
They're going to lose their herd if they keep sinning. I mean, that's a costly thing.
Yeah, and it should be,
Mm-hmm.
because sin costs. When we sin against God or His people, somebody's going to get hurt. I mean, you look at Commandments 5 through 10, and those are all sins against God's people, and someone's going to get hurt. Could be hurt by lying, hurt by adultery, hurt by theft. All those sins cause pain and suffering. So there should be some cost to us too. When we were, let's see where we at. So it could be a female goat or a lamb for any member of the community. Because in verse 27 through 31 we talk about the goat, and in verses 32 through the end of the chapter we talk about the female lamb. But same process. Both without defect, transfer the sins to the sacrifice, and then put the blood on the altar to show that it's the blood of the sacrifice that washes away the sins. Okay. So Leviticus 5, chapter 5, verses 1 through 13, identifies some of the unintentional sins. So, Christy, I think you asked about what sins they were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so here it comes. So, if anyone sins because they do not speak up when they hear a public charge to testify regarding something they have seen or learned about, they will be held responsible. So, if we saw something and we didn't say something about it, that would be a sin. So it'd be like a sin of omission. We didn't do what we're supposed to do. If they unwittingly touch something that's ceremonially unclean, the carcass of an unclean animal, wild or domestic, or any unclean creature that moves along the ground, and if they're unaware that they've become unclean, that's a sin. So maybe they were taking the carcass out, after a meal even, and they touched it. Or maybe they touched one of the unclean animals, because there's a listing of animals that are clean and unclean. Then they would be ceremonially unclean. Or if anyone's taken an oath. Now, the oath is kind of interesting. Jesus tells us in Matthew, do not take an oath by your head, for you cannot make one hair black or white. Let what you say simply be yes or no. Anything more than this comes from evil. So what Jesus is saying is, don't say, by my mother's life, I'm going to do this. Because that's an oath. And we can't take our mother's life, or we can't give life. Only God can do that. So all we can do is we can tell God, Lord, I'll do this for you.
I used to hear when I swear on my mom's grave or stuff like that, or my dad's grave.
Right, that's taking an oath.
Right,
And
okay.
Jesus himself says, don't do that.
It just
Okay?
doesn't seem right
Just offer up a prayer. So if you offered up an oath, then you sinned unintentionally. Let's see.
What if it was intentionally?
Or intentionally, yeah. Or maybe sometimes you don't think it's an oath, but it is. Maybe somebody would bring that to your attention. I can't think of an example.
You hit your thumb with a hammer and you swear.
Yeah.
Is an oath and a
But if
promise
it's an oath-
similar?
Yeah, yeah.
But if it was like unintentionally killing somebody, that's where that city of refuge would
Right.
come in.
Because God told us, thou shalt not murder. And people took that to be, well, then I can't be in the armed forces because I'm murdering somebody. Well, no. Murder is a premeditated act. And usually when you're in war, you're killing somebody. Maybe you're defending yourself or defending your country, and it's not what the Ten Commandments talks about.
So it
talks
does say,
about
God,
murder.
thou shalt not murder.
Thou shalt not murder. Right, if we look to the Hebrew, it would say murder and not kill. So,
Interesting.